Today we're looking at a new feature in MarkMagic version 11. It's the language translation feature. I've got a standard packing list open here in JMagic, and it's got a bunch of star heading text fields on it that you're used to. If I open up one of these, it's the sold to text field, star heading text field. And there's a bunch of others. Title here, the packing list, ship to, terms, ship via. So if you wanted to make this format multilingual, if you wanted to translate all those heading fields to Spanish, for example, you'd probably have to make a copy of the form, save it as a different name, get into that new format, and then start editing all of these heading fields, right, to Spanish. And then you'd have a version of the format out there that has all Spanish wording on it. Then you'd have to know which one to print at print time. It can get a little bit confusing. So MarkMagic will, with version 11 now, we allow you to build a translation library, essentially. So up under Print Transformer in JMagic, Translations, you can essentially build out a word library, a whole list of base words that can be translated into any language. I'll add a new one here. I've already got a couple for sold to and shipped to. I was doing some testing earlier. I'll add a new one for the title, pack list. So pack list. So there's the new base word for pack list. And I'll add a new translation for Spanish, but you can see all the different languages that are supported here. So you could eventually add a different translation for pack list for all of these languages. We'll show you in a little bit how you choose which one to switch to at print time using Print Transformer conditions. But I'll just paste in the translation here for pack list to Spanish. I'm not going to try to pronounce that. I don't speak Spanish, sorry, but I'll add that to the list. So we've got sold to, a Spanish translation for that, shipped to, a Spanish translation for that. And you can see on the right we've got the new pack list translation added for Spanish. So we've got 3 words that MarkMagic can scan for on the document, and then we'll use a condition. I'll show you how that's done to switch to Spanish. So again, up under Print Transformer, Conditions. And this format already has a few conditions on it already. If you've seen any of our previous webinars, you've seen how we add conditions, and it can toggle off this whole totals section, move things around, change the font and point size of text fields based on input data. So I've already got a condition here for translating to Spanish. And essentially you could create a condition for every language, and you can test something on the format as the data is coming in. For example, this one is testing, is the customer name, does it start with PAP? And I've got some sample data that when I print, the customer number, or customer name, excuse me, has PAP on it. So when it does have that, then it will translate whatever I choose here. I can add a new action. I'll add a new action, fields, text. And we're going to find the packing list name here. We're going to find it in the list. There are a lot of text fields here, because you can translate any of them. Pack list, and I'll just say translate field. And you can see it comes up with all those same languages from before. So I can choose which one of them to switch to. So whenever the test is true, so the customer has PAP in it, translate this word to Spanish. And if in that translations library that I've built, there is a translation for that pack list, for that heading field to Spanish, it will translate. So it's just a regular condition testing, and then doing the switch based on if there's information in the translation GUI for that. So I'm going to back out of here. I'll go back to my green screen here, and let me just double check that I've got the correct spool file here. So I'll print with one that I know, I believe, doesn't have PAP in the data. Let me just triple check that for you. So we're looking here. So doesn't have PAP. So I'll print with another one later that does have it, and we'll see the translation work. But just to show the base, I'll do a print here. We'll run that. Go to my output directory. So here's the base form. English wording, no problem. And you can see those conditions from before. Pretty cool how it turned it off there, and on the last page the conditions worked to turn on those totals section. So that's, yeah, very cool. You can build a whole list of conditions to make the format look totally different, and now including changing the translating these words. So let me close that down, delete that out of here. So we'll print another one. Let me go back and grab a spool file that I know does have PAP in it, which will make the condition true. Let's triple check that. Here we go, PAP. So we're testing this, and if PAP is in that customer name, it will perform that translation to Spanish. So let's see. I'll run the print job. We'll come back here to my output directory. There it is. Look at that. So we've got these two that were from before, translated to Spanish, and then now the title up there. So it's the same format. I didn't have to have multiple copies of the format. Printed with the same one. It had all the same conditions as before, by the way, for the totals popping up and that other label showing. But this time, since the customer had PAP in it, now it switches to Spanish based on that condition that I created earlier. So eventually you can create a whole list of base words, and then in here a whole list of languages for each word that that they can translate to, and then you can use conditions to test other data. So maybe you know that everybody in France or another French-speaking country has a different wording in the customer name. You can test that and then use print transformer conditions to swap these same base words to their French variants. So this is a very powerful feature. We added it in MarkMagic version 11, and I hope this helps you make all your forms multilingual and keep everything simple on one format and not have to worry about having multiple copies all over the place and getting confused which one's which. So yeah, look for that. MarkMagic version 11 out now. Thanks.